So welcome everybody to the Daily Closing. This is episode number 45. Lorena, great to see you.
Good to see you.
A couple of things that we want to let you know. As of this moment, it appears that out of 50 that was projected to be released, 24 hostages were actually released by Hamas into, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown about the people that were released because there is an interesting fact in there that we all should be a little concerned about for a number of reasons. Talking about Israel and Gaza, right?
Yeah.
And the whole situation. There was an announcement there was going to be a truce, right? It was going to be a pause.
Ceasefire.
A ceasefire, a pause of all the active engagement on what's taking place out there. There was a promise of releasing, at least the commitment was to release 50 hostages. As of this moment, as of this very moment, 24 of them has been released. About 13 of them are Israelis. There's about 10 of them that happen to be from the Philippines and Thailand, and one, the rest of them is Thailand and one from the Philippines. Not a single one of them, it's an American. Right? Remember, we have American hostages in there. The fact that, and again, it wasn't 50, and it's 49, and it appears
it's 24.
24,
Yeah.
and it appears that, what was it, within 15, 20 minutes of the so-called ceasefire, there was an actual
missile activity.
There was fire from Gaza into Israel.
Right.
So, again, you have so many people right now trying to come up with a perspective. And what they call is, let's be reasonable and let's try to come up with a fair perspective. The problem is, if what they're calling for is find a way to justify the actions of one and find a way to justify the actions of the other, eventually, you're not going to make anybody happy. You're going to manage to get everybody angry, and you're not going to provide a final conclusion or final position about what the issue really happens to be here. But I don't want to even get into that. I just want to say that based on the release of hostages, which everybody knows for a fact that will have a positive effect, it can produce a real ceasefire. They release everybody, we can potentially end the...
So it went from 240.
Correct.
They released a few.
Correct.
Are they still releasing not entire families together, but certain people in the family?
I think that it's an interesting situation when you see a whole group from Thailand, for example, being released, right? And to me, I will say when you happen to be in a position when you're trying to look for, and I'm trying to approach it from the perspective that probably Hamas is thinking on terms of the value of the bargaining power that a hostage has. You know what I mean? And so you start, literally, you have to break it down through groups, ages, specific factors, that tells you what's a more valuable bargaining hostage, when it comes to what we want from Israel. And so it appears to me that then releasing 10, 11 people between Thailand and the Philippines, it's a way of saying, this is probably the least valuable. And I don't want to say it in terms of the value of life.
Right.
But again, that's why I'm explaining, the how they have to value in terms of the bargaining.
Well, how are they involved in the current situation?
Correct. It's least involved. Obviously, a telltale of what I'm saying to you, or at least a little bit of a validation, is the fact that not a single American was actually released.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that tells you a little bit of what they're thinking and how they think. It is a strong possibility, and I hate to say that to, the American families that are really hoping and praying for these hostages, for their families, to family members to be released. It's a strong possibility that become part of the last group that gets to be released because in many ways that becomes the most valuable group.
If at all, right.
You know what I mean? And part of it is because we already made a few mistakes, and I want to call that a mistake as a country, to actually put money to the tune of billions of dollars for the release of a few people.
Yep.
So now you're looking at this group of people, and now you're thinking not in terms of millions or ceasefire, or you're actually thinking in terms of billions of dollars that can actually be generated as part of the process. But listen, anything that can get the
to fund more of what's going on, which is a crazy thing.
You know, for me, what I'm looking for right now, Lorena, is you know, anything that can trigger a ceasefire is good for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anything can trigger, you know, the stopping, you know what I mean, the killing of each other, especially. And by the way, you know, when you go through a process of listening to what every argument has been, from accusing, you know, Israel of genocide and accusing anything from Andrew Tate to Mohammed Hijab, who was saying, you know what I mean, why don't they fight man to man? Why are they fighting to? Well, there was no man to man fighting when they were throwing rockets from Gaza into Israel, right? And there's also no man to man fighting if you're not wearing a uniform. If you really want to reduce, if you want to say, let's do this army to army, so that all of us collectively we can actually reduce
civilian casualties.
Exactly, we can minimize it at least. You know what I mean? By the way, you know, there was also interesting arguments about the World War II. You know, listen, when Churchill was bombing Germany, you know, there was a significant amount of civilian casualties that took place. I haven't heard anybody accusing
Churchill
of genocide, or ethnic cleansing, you know what I mean, or Great Britain, you know what I mean, they're being accused of genocide. So yeah, we got to be very careful with this games that everybody's playing, you know what I mean, people. Well, and not only that, listen, if you already took a position and you're willing to defend it, I absolutely respect that.
For it,
you know what I mean. Like, I respect that, opposed to people that are constantly tap dancing on the whole situation. For me, the fact of the matter is that, you know, without the hostilities that has been taking place, there is absolutely no way that the natural tendency of Israel is to go out there and just simply attack people. That has never been the case. If you got to go through historical confirmation, if you're talking about them many times, they came very close to actually come to an agreement to a two-state, you know, division of the area and the territory, to a two-state solution.
They've been open to even like shrinking their territory just
at some point they were willing to go back to the 1947, which is like almost giving back just about everything, including, you know, giving back Jerusalem as a which, you know, from a religious perspective, this has been an issue. But listen, I'm respectful. You know what I mean? I have a lot of Muslim friends. You know, I hope that our relationships don't get affected. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is that, you know, again, I respect you for your position. I hope you're taking your position based on what the historical content of that area, that situation has been, and based on the behaviors of both parties. You know what I mean? And as of this moment, you know what I mean, if I have to support a group of people, I'm still going to be supporting a lot more the position of Israel. Not without flaws, not without fault, not without mistakes, not without a significant amount of errors, but that is completely different than something that is intentionally motivated by reasons that are not good for humanity. They are not good for two people that are trying to be neighbors, you know what I mean? Which whether we like it or not, that's what they are. Whether they like it or not, you know what I mean? That's the reality. So I am looking forward, man, to seeing all this, the release of hostages. I'm hoping to see, and you know, as somebody who is in America, whose flag I support and represent. As an American, you know what I mean? I will tell you, I'm dying to see some of the, if not all of them, but at least some of the American hostages to start being part of the group of people that will be released. I think that our government have to do a better job pressuring this. And I know that everybody keeps claiming, we know, behind the scenes, we're doing this, we're doing that. Again, you know what I mean? I think about different presidents, you know what I mean? I think about Ronald Reagan. I think about even W. Bush, you know what I mean? It's just that this is a guy that probably would have taken a more aggressive position. A Donald Trump, you know what I mean? I'm thinking about what will that be the case. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're hoping for the best, but
this is when people thinking that Donald Trump was actually a little crazy to do certain crazy things will come in handy for him, because people will be like, you know what, we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the fact of the matter is that's a reality. There was a lot of people that were extremely concerned, not knowing his background, not knowing how he was going to be reacting to some of these things. Everything here would have been a first for him as somebody that was never involved in politics.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that he always made it very clear, and in multiple occasions, had a few people terminated just based on what they represent as a threat. And so here we are as a country feeling more and more vulnerable, you know what I mean, based on...
Because they can tell what our next couple moves are going to be.
I called upon, what I called upon is every reasonable person, again, you know what I mean, to force the conversation in a way that we can say, okay, listen, first of all, we got to find a way to minimize the violence. The moment that you try to justify somebody's violent position against the other, you're already in a lose conversation. The question is, do we have the ability to actually come to a point where we can, as so-called rational, reasonable actors, right, that today have just about every valuable information or every piece of information that is needed to act through actions of democracy and peace, and to come together? Can we find a way, or is it going to go down to one group is going to truly have no choice but to dominate the other one? Yeah, and is that the only way that we get to peace? Because between the manipulation of the media, between the manipulation of information, between the manipulation of intelligence agencies that do a phenomenal job, with misinformation and disinformation. What we're facing is first of all, not knowing what's truthful, what's the position to take, who do you support, and I think that but that is needed. You got to go through the layers of misinformation, disinformation. You got to put a little bit of time to be able to. Otherwise, you find yourself. I'm looking at the people that are protesting right now. You know what I mean? And I think
like the people that stopped the Macy's parade. Gluing themselves.
Correct. And so when you look at things like that, and you go, it doesn't. If anything, you're just annoying people even more, because it goes from. If you think that that's going to be what's going to make it happen, or it's going to, but it's just people looking for attention. You know what I mean? I really believe that they're acting at a very, how can I put it?
Childish?
Yeah, it's just more than childish, it's shallow. You know what I mean? It's like, I see very little depthness. You want to get involved, get involved into the conversation and get involved in even the political participation. You know what I mean? If you believe that one party, and that's where we are, you know what I mean? That one party clearly supports certain things and the other one doesn't. So get involved with that one. But let's just hope and pray for the release of everybody. Listen, if you have any opinion about anything that we discuss here today, please like, share, comment. Let us know. Have a great time. Thank you.
Deuces.